The Acura TLX is arguably one of the best all-wheel drive sedans you can buy today. So how do you make it better? You start by stuffing a turbocharged V6 under the hood. This is the TLX Type-S. Is it the ultimate sports sedan? That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV.
When I reviewed the all-new 2021 Acura TLX a few months ago, I thought it was an amazing car, but it just felt like it didn't really achieve all that it could achieve. And Acura agreed. In fact, at the time, we knew this car was coming, but we didn't quite know all the details. Well, today we have it, and we're gonna drive it. The one thing you'll notice immediately about this car, aside from the fact that it's this unusual shade of gold, is the fact that it has extra aerodynamic pieces. We have a lower lip here and a wing in the back. I think in terms of looks, this is one of the nicest looking sedans you can buy today. And along with the G70, it just blows my mind how great sedans have become.
So if you're looking for a luxury sports sedan for the weekly commute that can also serve up fun on the weekends, you have a wide array of amazing options. In addition to the Genesis, there's the Audi S4, Mercedes-AMG C43, and even the new BMW M340i with xDrive. These all feature big engines, all-wheel drive, and amazing driving dynamics. Prices you see it here, $54,625 including destination. So does this Acura TLX Type-S rise above the competition? Let's dig in. The first feature to consider is the all-wheel drive. The Acura comes standard with their own super handling all-wheel drive system. This is a fourth-generation performance-oriented all-wheel drive setup, pushing up to 70% of available torque to the rear wheels, with a 100% shift from left to right, in addition to providing an overdrive of the outside rear wheel by 2.9% to assist in turning. In my opinion, this is one of the best performance-oriented all-wheel drive systems on the market today. Power comes from a 3-liter V6 engine fed by a twin-scroll turbo. This peaks at 15.1 psi to produce up to 355 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. But what is best is that peak torque plateaus from 1,400 RPM all the way to 5,000. The standard 10-speed automatic transmission has been strengthened to deal with the added horsepower, in addition to getting retuned to provide faster downshifts. There are 2 tire packages available at the time of purchase, both wrapped around 20-inch alloy wheels. You can either get all seasons or the Pirelli P0 summer tires that we have here. EPA rates the Type-S with performance tires at 19 miles to the gallon in the city and 24 on the highway. All seasons improve highway MPGs by 1. Further details worth mentioning include the brakes, which are big Brembos with 4 pistons up front. There's also bracing all around to improve rigidity. And the steering ratio is quicker than the standard TLX. Suspension is still double wishbone up front and multi-link in back, but it's been tweaked for a sportier drive with more precision. In the back is a modest 13.5 cubic feet of cargo space. You can, however, fold the second row down for larger objects, though the Type-S bracing does limit that use. Under the floor is a fix-a-flat kit. They also relocated the battery back here for better balance.
Okay, here we are in the second row. Now, it is a little tight back here. They've really sacrificed second row space to give this really kind of coupe-like look. And it is unfortunate if you have to have any passengers that are, adults. I'm 6'1", torso legs proportionate. This is where I would be sitting if I was driving, and I do find this really snug. However, the materials are amazing. I also have one of the ELS Studio 3D speakers right here. Power windows, little thing to put stuff in, and no USB sockets of any kind. I have no power back here actually. All I have is a vent that I can control. So this is clearly not designed for ferrying people around. If you wanted to do that, if you're really reliant on having a spacious second row, look somewhere else. Armrest, excellent. In fact, I would say that if you're looking for a second row, but you want something that is of the same basic size, you might instead look at the 3.3-liter turbo Genesis G70. That gives you more space in the back, but it's still a very sporty all-wheel drive alternative. Powered up, the gauges come alive. I love that look. Proper tack on the left, speedo on the right, traditional gauges flanking a multicolor display, just like it should be.
On a sports sedan, sound is important, and the Type S has a standard active exhaust system to increase volume inside of the cabin by up to 7 decibels when activated. But how does it sound to the people outside?
Steering wheel, yeah, that's what a steering wheel should be in a sports sedan. We have a cut bottom, paddle shifters, lots of buttons, but they are clear and understandable. We have adaptive cruise control functions on the right and stereo functions on the left, as well as the ability, of course, to toggle through all the different menus, and there are a lot of them. I really like their approach here. The graphics are clean, easy to read with nice touches of color, and I get a really great SH all-wheel drive output display here, which really shows me the status of my all-wheel drive system and what it is doing. I do get a turbo gauge up in the top left, which is nice, and an accelerometer on the top right. I just love the way this cabin is laid out. In fact, it's one of my favorite sedan designs. Now, in terms of comfort, this thing has just wonderful seats. They're wrapped in Alcantara, which will keep me from moving around too much. And there are just tons of adjustments. And I like it how up on the screen here, we get the little representation showing exactly what's going on. Because when you have this many options on a seat, it's really easy to kind of lose your way with what's going on. I also have seat heating and cooling. Steering wheel, no steering wheel heat. But you know what? I think that's okay. Not usually a fan of that except in the coldest months of the year. And in the Seattle area, that's not very often. And then over here, we have everything clustered into a very small, compact area, but it's very clear and understandable. First off, we have the screen, which is kind of integrated into the upper section up here. And then we have the aircon as push buttons just below it. Below that, we have the dynamic modes. This car has a number of modes. We have comfort, normal, sport, and Sport Plus. And you will notice that the exhaust note is changing slightly with each of those because it is an active exhaust system, which is pretty cool. Now, if we hold down the button, we get individual, and this shows everything that we can play with. We have the engine, which can go to a variety of settings, which basically modifies the responsiveness of it. Steering, which most vehicles will offer some form of adaptive steering. And then suspension.
The adaptive dampers are constantly adjusting, but their response can be set to 3 different settings.
You can also disable the auto start stop, which is as it is in sport. And then, of course, lighting. Accent lighting, okay, we can modify accent lighting to be normal or sport. We go sport, everything goes red. We go normal, everything's a little bit more chill. So it's not really a lot of settings compared to some other vehicles, but it does give you a little bit of customization. And I just want to show you too that if I go into sport mode and I turn the vehicle off, and I pretend like I exit, go back in, turn it back on. And what drive mode are we in? Normal. Yeah, this doesn't retain drive modes with restarting. A lot of that has to do with getting better EPA numbers because the EPA defaults to whatever your vehicle defaults to. So if you do it to sport and it retains sport, then they have to use economy numbers for sport. So unfortunately, even if you bought this car because you want to drive like a maniac, you have to flip the dial every time you get in. Now the jury is still out on this infotainment system.
I actually like it because the touchpad is mapped to the same location as the display.
I just hit top left on the pad, boom, I'm there. It makes it really quick once you get used to it. Now let's try a voice search. Navigate to Cafe Ladro. Will it find it?
Destination not found. Please try
Aww.
again. If entering an address, please include city and state.
Okay,
Where would you like to go?
navigate to Starbucks.
Please make a selection by name or
Yep,
line number.
it knew Starbucks, but it could not find
to Starbucks.
our local coffee chain. Just seeing that so often in these systems. They just ignore the local guys and only go for the big names. Luckily, I can use Apple CarPlay, which is a smarter system. Cannot use a USB-C cable though. I have to use an old style USB. Plug it in, enable Apple CarPlay, enable Acura Link, go Apple CarPlay, top right, and then on the right I can toggle between a number of things in the tray. Okay, and now once I'm in here, I can then go Apple CarPlay, and let's see, let's do search. Find Cafe Ladro.
One option is Cafe Ladro on Urban Plaza in Kirkland.
There we go. Boom. Found it, as it should be. So if you're using navigation, you might end up just using Apple CarPlay anyway, although the built-in navigation is decent if you're going to a major POI, something that everybody's going to, I guess, be asking for. The rest of the menus are pretty clear. I do like how the graphics are bold. It's easy to understand. Again, once you get used to this proximity pad, it becomes a lot easier to use, and I like it way better than some other systems that are currently out there, specifically the Lexus touchpad, which is getting phased out. This is way better. In terms of active safety, this thing is loaded. We have collision mitigation, adaptive cruise control with lane detection and centering, rear cross traffic alerts with auto braking, and also a camera. It does not actually have a surround view, which I kind of wish it would. At this price point, I don't think asking for a surround view is asking too much. It does have rear cross traffic alerts, so that's a plus there. The push buttons for the transmission I actually like on this car. I'm not fond of them just being straight buttons, but I like how they have different dynamics for different things. If I'm in park, it's a button. If I do reverse, it's a pull. If I do neutral, it's a push. And if I do drive, it's another push, but they're all at slightly different angles, which makes it much easier to use, more natural to use than I think the ones that are all just straight push buttons, and I find it's a little too easy to accidentally hit reverse or accidentally hit neutral. This one, they're just different enough that my finger memory can figure them out. I do like that there's a charging pad here, but without Apple CarPlay being wireless, I just don't really see the point. Although I think this is a great location to put it. It's super accessible. I'm not going to forget my phone like some of the other ones where it's a little bit more hidden. Now for music, we do have Sirius XM satellite, as well as terrestrial radio, and then of course Apple CarPlay. Okay, let's see what this baby can do. Since we're on the freeway, let's take a real quick look at one of the more pedestrian features, and that is the adaptive cruise control with lane centering. I'm going to go ahead and hit set. I'm going to set a target speed. It's going to match the vehicle in front of me. And it even has lane centering, which I can enable and disable. When the steering goes green, it is seeing those lanes. Can I take my hands off and will it steer? No, that's a little too much for it. It didn't like that. How about on a straightaway? Road's going to turn. Can it gradually carve around that? It's doing it. It's doing it. Oh, we're kind of hugging on the outside though. Yeah, I'm just not getting as much confidence with this vehicle as I do with some others in the class. That said, this does have stop and go adaptive cruise control too. It'll do it at speeds under 20 miles per hour, which is important, I think. That's kind of a cool feature to have, especially if you commute. Oh good, looks like traffic is completely stopped up ahead. I don't think I've ever said that before, but yay, because we want to test the stop and go feature. So right now, I do not have my foot on the gas or brake at all. I am letting the car do all the driving. And we'll see if it comes to a complete stop and then what happens when the vehicle in front of us moves forward. We're definitely going slow. Some systems will cut off at under 20 miles an hour. Clearly that's not happening here. I still have full adaptive cruise control assist. And my target speed is in the high 70s because why not? We're clearly not going that speed anyway. Now, it's true that you can get a system like this on the Mercedes AMG models. However, those ones are an extra add-on price. This one, it just comes with this, which is really nice. And I think that sedans like this are still one of the best vehicles to use for the day-to-day commute, because you don't need a lot of cargo space for a regular commute, and it's super comfortable. It performs great, really good for freeway cruising, and these seats are really comfortable. I even like the auto heat controls. If it gets cold, it'll then start putting on the heat on the back of the seat. I don't have to think about it, although that is getting a little bit cold. Maybe I'll just override that. So we're now just sitting on the freeway waiting for the car in front of us to move. I still have the adaptive cruise control on. Car in front moved up. I do have to hit the pedal to get moving here again. I wonder if that's a highway department requirement, that when you come to a complete stop for more than, a few seconds, if it's required that you have to have some kind of an input. So here we're creeping along at 5 miles per hour with adaptive cruise control. Don't have to do anything with my foot. It's doing a really good job of keeping that gap closed with the vehicle in front of me, but not getting too far behind. Okay, well, I think this feature works really good. Let's move on to some mountain driving. Now we're off on a forest side road. Let's go ahead and kick it into Sport Plus. I'm gonna hold it down there. Oh, and it makes good noises. Put the transmission into Sport, and you can manually override it with the paddles right on the wheel here, of course. In this Type-S, the transmission has also been improved. It changes gear quicker on the downshifts, and it's also been reinforced to be able to handle the extra horsepower, which is really important if you plan on tracking this thing. Let's go ahead, downshift. Oh yeah, that's quick. Throttle. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, those downshifts, very quick. The real reason why you would consider the Acura over pretty much anything else in the class really comes down to the SH all-wheel drive system. Now, this is an all-wheel drive system that will send up to 70% of available power to the rear wheels. And on top of that, it'll send 100% of that available power to either the right or left wheel. Now, they use this not just for traction, but also for performance. What I mean by that is, as I'm turning, it pushes power to that back left outside wheel as I was turning right, which helps rotate the vehicle around the corner. It acts like four-wheel steering, and it just does a remarkable job. And of course here it's been tuned to be more aggressive because this is a Type-S. I'm gonna go manual downshift to 1, throttle in a little bit. You can see all the power going to that back outside wheel. Oh, and so much power. Yeah, SH all-wheel drive is one of my favorites, and in this vehicle, it really makes this TLX something special. And when I drove the last TLX, just the standard model, one of my biggest concerns was the fact that the chassis just felt like it was capable of so much more than that engine was able to put out. Now, with a twin-scroll turbo V6 in it, this thing is right where it should be, and it's amazing. I talked to Acura, and they assume that this is about a 5-second car. So let's go ahead and see what we can get. Now, we're on a mostly level surface. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I am going to use launch control, which this vehicle does have, but it doesn't really make as much of a big deal about it as other vehicles. I'll show you. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to Sport Plus by holding it to the right. Let's go one more. Boom, we're in Sport Plus. Next, I'm going to hold down the brake and hold down the gas. After 3 seconds, I'll release the brake and away we go. Unlike some other vehicles like Mercedes or BMW, it's not going to actually notify me that I'm in launch control mode. I will know because my RPM will be at about 2,000 and I will see boost building with the boost gauge. Let's go ahead, give it a try. Brake in really firm, gas all the way. 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, that's quick. 178 to 30 and 4.76 for a $56,000 sports sedan. Yes, I will take that. Thank you very much. Whew, that was cool. I do wish, though, that it would actually have a little bit more hoopla. But it's just so Honda. They're a very conservative company. And I guess they just wanted to give you launch control but didn't want to make such a big deal about it. Okay. If I was looking for a sports sedan that was quick, had great all-wheel drive, superb handling, looked amazing, was a value price with all the stuff that you get, and had a dealer experience that you expect from a luxury car maker, I think the only real answer here is the Acura. If you want to see how this vehicle's all-wheel drive system deals with sand, I already did that in the last TLX review, and this one basically would be exactly the same, but I'm in summer tires right now, and there's ridiculous and there's stupid, so keep that in mind. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like our videos, and we'll see you again right here next week.